This backhand counterdrive feels like you're wiping the table. As the ball comes, it's like you're wiping the tabletop with a brushing motion. Now, what about the punch block? Today, we're going to cover how to defend after you push, as well as general defensive principles. Generally, your opponent's first attack will be cross-court, whether it's from their backhand or forehand side. So, when you push to your opponent's backhand, you need to quickly cover your own backhand corner. When you push to their forehand, quickly move to cover the cross-court angle. Second, proactive defense is key. Defending doesn't automatically mean you're in a passive situation. I'll demonstrate. This is the first type. This is the second type. Give me a spinnier one. This is the third type. Which type are you? The first is a passive block, the second is a punch block, the third is a counterdrive. Let's talk about the first key point. When should you use a passive block? When your opponent initiates with a powerful loop, your first response should be a passive block. This is a block. I'm not generating my own power, just absorbing and redirecting the ball's energy. By using their pace and adding a small push, the return speed is more than enough. So why do you lose the initiative when defending? It's because you're taking a backswing. A backswing makes you vulnerable to a follow-up power loop. Many players have a habit of taking a big backswing. Against a slow ball, you might get away with it. But against a fast ball, you simply won't have time. That's why all your defensive strokes, both forehand and backhand, must be executed in front of your body. This ensures you can react to any speed. When your opponent attacks, keep your racket in front. Absolutely no backswing. Just stay in front and execute the block. Second point, when blocking a topspin ball, watch your racket angle. Many players who are used to hitting open their racket face too much. Against any topspin, your racket angle needs to be slightly closed, similar to when you rip or loop. Third, your forearm should move forward, not upward. For both forehand and backhand blocks. Forward. Same for the forehand, move forward. Notice my forearm moves straight forward, with no upward motion at all. Close the angle and meet the ball with a forward motion. Don't lift it. Why does your block go long? The topspin is already making the ball kick upwards off your racket. If you add your own upward motion, it's guaranteed to go off the table. Next, a key point on reading the attack: if their swing path is from low to high, it's easier to block. If it's from back to front, you have to match their speed. If their swing is from high to low, just give up the point. You can't block that at the table because the contact point will be too high and behind you. Let's talk about why you get attacked so hard. If your push is too high and slow, you won't recover in time, making it impossible to react, especially when you don't know the ball's direction. However, if you push the ball very low over the net, even without much spin, your opponent is forced to lift it to create an arc. They can't just smash it downwards. Your push is too high, allowing them to hit downwards on the ball, putting you in a completely defensive position. Therefore, even when pushing, your primary goal should be to keep the ball low, skimming the net. A ball like this, while not high spin, is difficult for them to attack aggressively. They'll have to play a safer, looping shot, which gives you more time to react. You can't block effectively because your previous shot was too poor, leaving you no time for the next ball. Third, let's learn how to judge if the attack is coming to your forehand or backhand. Forehand. Forehand. Backhand. Backhand. Forehand. Reading this timing can be tricky. For amateurs, you should always anticipate the cross-court return first. So how do I judge the direction? I watch their contact point. If they contact the ball directly behind it with a forward motion, it's very difficult to hit a wide cross-court angle. It's likely going down the line. If their forearm pushes forward through the ball, it's a down-the-line shot. However, if it contact their racket is to the side of the ball and their arm starts wrapping inwards, it's definitely going cross-court. They will naturally follow through inwards, resulting in a wide cross-court shot. The same principle applies to the backhand. If their forearm doesn't move sideways at contact, it's most likely a down-the-line ball. Okay, next let's talk about how to handle high, spinny loops. This is my secret weapon. Want me to teach you? I'll demonstrate a few punch blocks. Let's start with the backhand. This ball is super spinny. A passive block just flies off the table. On my forehand side, I usually counterdrive these, but for today's lesson, I'll show you how to punch block it. Alright, let's break down the key elements. There are 4 points. The first is crucial: you cannot squat down. If I'm too low, the ball will fly off the table. You need to stay a bit taller. When the ball comes, keep your center of gravity high, almost like you're playing on top of the ball. Get on top of the ball. My feeling is that I need to be on top of the ball to execute this shot. Your entire body needs to lean forward and your racket must be up, because you have to contact the ball from behind or slightly above it. It's a high arc loop. If your racket is below the ball, you can't punch it. It'll go long every time. So for both forehand and backhand, you have to raise your racket. This is the most important part. Second key point is about timing. The ball has the most spin right at its peak. If the loop is too deep, I can't attack it. So what's the solution? You must hit the ball right as it bounces, at the top of the bounce. This applies to both forehand and backhand. The third key point for this shot is that your wrist must be absolutely firm. To get this kind of quality on your backhand block, watch my wrist position. It's a solid, penetrating shot. Whoops, my wrist wobbled a bit there, and it went long. What I want to emphasize is that the ball went out because my wrist broke at the end of the stroke. Even a slight wobble in your wrist will cause the ball to fly. I use this shot occasionally to intimidate my opponent, to tell them not to send me such low-quality loops. The message is, if you send me a slower, spinny loop instead of a power shot, I will punch it for a winner. My main goal is intimidation. I can't punch every ball, because they might hit a faster loop. Your wrist cannot have the slightest bit of movement. It has to be completely locked because the ball is so spinny. The ball's spin is intense, any wobble and it will fly off the table. For example, if he loops and I use even a tiny bit of wrist flick like this, in slow motion, the ball is gone. So when you want to execute this shot, your wrist has to be dead firm. If you're using pure impact, your grip at the moment of contact is the core of this technique. You must grip it tight. The wrist lock applies to both forehand and backhand. Why does the wrist wobble? It's because when you try to generate power, often with your thumb on the backhand, you fail to support that force with the rest of your hand, and the wrist breaks. Let me demonstrate. If I just use my thumb and my wrist isn't firm, even a light touch will send the ball flying. So, lock the wrist, and you can control the punch. If you find this too difficult, but still want to be aggressive on your backhand defense, you can use the backhand counterdrive, which is what I use most often. It's easier than the punch block. Honestly, the punch block has an element of gambling in it. If any pro could punch block more consistently than they could counterdrive, then all the world champions would be doing it. This is why pimpled rubbers often struggle against inverted rubbers. Pips rely mainly on impact, while inverted rubber uses friction. Friction is your insurance policy. When your mentality shifts under pressure in a match, friction is everything. For these half-high balls, I strongly advise against just punching them. You'll likely hit it long. So how should you counterdrive? Watch my forearm and wrist. You have to actively neutralize the spin. It's the same for defense. You need to actively add your own friction. At the top of the bounce, close your racket face and brush forward. This backhand counterdrive feels like you're wiping the table. As the ball comes, it's like you're wiping the tabletop with a brushing motion. That's one method. Now, what about the punch block? For the punch block, I just fix my racket angle. I take it at the top of the bounce and punch. But this is prone to errors. The punch block is less stable than the counterdrive. The counterdrive is safer because it uses friction, while the punch is a bit of a gamble. If you time it perfectly and your hand is firm, it will go in. If not, it won't. My advice for high, spinny loops, whether you're a penholder or shakehand player, is to brush the top middle part of the ball to grind the spin back at them. Close your angle and brush it back. If they add spin and you just passively block, you're guaranteed to hit it long. And that's without match pressure. In a match, when you get nervous, it's even worse. You have to use your own action to kill the spin, whether you're punching or brushing it. You have to control the spin yourself. If the ball is kicking up, I press down on it. If the ball is dipping down, I lift it up. It's these slow, spinny balls with a bit of dip that are the hardest to block. These dipping, spinny shots are the most difficult to handle. A skilled opponent with these shots is very tough. If they hit a fast power loop, you might get lucky with a block. The real trouble is the heavy, dipping spin. So, when using the counterdrive, remember these 3 points. First, don't let your center of gravity get too low. You have to get your racket up. Against a high arc loop, whether you block, punch, or counterdrive, your racket must be up. See how my racket is up? Why can't you get yours up? It's because your elbow and shoulder have dropped. You have to lift your shoulder and elbow to get your hand in the correct, up position. A traditional penhold pushblock style can't handle this. High spin loops are the perfect tactic against it. When I play my dad, I just load up the spin to his backhand. The most he can do is chop block it. It's a dead end for that style. So against a traditional blocker, attack their backhand with heavy topspin. Second key point, don't be afraid of the spin. For example, I don't have to hit it with full power. A softer touch works too. Don't fear the spin, proactively use your own motion to control it. Same for the counterdrive. I don't need to slam it. I can play it softer like this, which is very consistent. Get your racket up and then actively press against the spin. You don't have to create a loud crack on every shot. This is also a form of pressure. As long as you're actively engaging the ball, it's not just a passive touch. So when I'm pressing or counterdriving, should my grip be tight or loose? Let me show you the difference between a tight and loose grip with the same stroke. Loose grip. Tight grip. The result is completely different. Remember this principle I've developed. When you want to generate your own power, you start relaxed. For example, on a softball, I'm relaxed, and then I squeeze tight at impact. However, when you want to borrow power, your hand must be firm. For instance, if I want to block, punch, or counterdrive using my opponent's pace, my hand has to be firm before contact. The only time to be relaxed is during the backswing to store energy. You're only loose when storing energy. The moment your racket is about to touch the ball, you can't be relaxed anymore. Especially if you want to generate power. Why? Let's rally a few forehands. Many players make this mistake. They are still relaxed at the point of contact. For amateur players, my advice is this: only relax when you are taking a backswing to store energy. If you're playing with a short stroke in front of you, don't relax. When you want to use their pace and generate power late in the swing, you really have to hold the racket firm. If I take a full backswing like this, I can be relaxed and then snap through with power. But if I don't have time for a backswing, for example, if I'm moving to the ball, my grip has to be firm. My hand is firm the whole time to make the shot. If I'm moving and my hand is also loose, the ball will fly out immediately. As long as you're not taking a huge backswing, your grip must be firm. I'm not saying to death grip it, but your muscles must be engaged. You can't be too loose. However, if I'm stationary and a half-high ball comes, of course I'll relax and accelerate for a winner. But the moment I start moving, I have to be firm. Many people misinterpret the relax and accelerate advice. That applies to situations where you're set up for a power shot. The lesson is that there are no absolutes in table tennis, you must adapt to the situation.